Welcome to Conversations with K and J. We're your hosts, Kayla and Janae.
And here, we talk about love, life,
and lessons learned. Hey guys, welcome to episode 4 of Daily Doses of Conversations with Kayla
and Janae.
In today's energy, we are looking into what we desire. Longing is an emotion that pulls us from the present moment. It's a wishing that the present moment was different from how it is. That something, someone, or some feeling not here now was here. Desires are a natural part of being human, and we can honor that. But we must not let our desires cause us suffering. We must acknowledge our desires kindly, and then return to the beauty of the here and now. Longing is like trying to fill a void. When we realize there is no void and that we are whole, we return to our true nature of love in the present. So, what do you feel from that?
I feel like it's saying realize that you have everything that you need right now, right here in the present. And there's no need to try to bring past stuff into the present because you're thinking that you're longing for those past things or people to fill this emptiness that you've already found a way to fill it on your own.
Right. And that goes into maybe session 2 where we were talking about the magician type of energy of what you focus on is what you manifest. Mm-hmm. And you're always going to be sitting in this sense or feeling of lack or not having what you desire if you're focusing on things that you know really are not the truth anymore. Like you're manifesting the same void.
Yeah. I feel like you've already figured that thing out, that you realize that it isn't what you thought it was. And you keep giving these people the benefit of the doubt that they're going to like evolve with you.
Right.
And be able to come along. But the void is that you know that it won't ever happen.
So this makes me think of what we've been doing lately. We've been carrying our backpack with our kettlebells in it to the park. So if we were to visually look at that, this is like holding a kettlebell in your backpack and carrying the weight when it's necessary. But after the fact, would you still want to carry that heaviness and that burden around? Like once we are done working out and we come back home, there's no need to keep carrying that weight on our back. Mm-hmm. Like you have to let it down or let it go. And so this brings us into this 10 of Wands type of energy where you are looking at your burdens. I think even in a conversation that's posted on the channel, we spoke about our conversation with Kaylee about letting other people or putting rocks in your bag, or was it something like that?
Filling your backpack with other people's rocks. Say if you was in a race and somebody stopped him like, oh man, mine's just too heavy. You got a little space in your bag. Can you put my rocks in there so that we can like go together? And we both, but then it ends up being that now I have the heavy bag and your load is a lot easier. Right. Mm-hmm. So I think it's about start taking some of those rocks out of your bag and make it easier for you, right? People have done things to put their own rocks in their bag. Mm-hmm. If yours was light, keep it that way. You can, tell people how they can get rid of their rocks, but never take somebody else's baggage and think that you can handle the load on your own.
And especially all the time. Mm-hmm. And I think just like visually in our relationship, we will always check in with each other when we're carrying like groceries or things that are heavy. Like, you got it? You good? You want me to get it? Like, it's that. It could be a trade-off as well, because in this 10 of Wands, she is carrying a baby on her back on top of carrying groceries in both hands. And it's like no one is around to help relieve her of those burdens. So there's going to be times when it's necessary for you to do what you need to do, but it also would not hurt for you to ask for help or to make sure you are connected to people and things that can help you within that process.
Right.
So when we tie in this temperance energy, this is aligning the mind, the body, and the soul. And a lot of times in private sessions, specifically love relationship bases, the temperance card comes into play when someone is not in alignment with how their heart and their mind feels. The mind is telling you or showing you that this is not where you need to be anymore, but your heart still longs and lingers to be there. And so you're always going to be torn in between two worlds, or always in this back and forth type of energy, because it's just not making sense. Like, why am I still emotionally longing for this person or this place or this space when my mind has already moved forward? And when you come into that, in order to balance that energy, you have to get real with yourself of if something was truly benefiting you in the ways that you were giving it that sort of praise, or I don't really know the word, but sometimes we can place people and things on a pedestal when they really don't deserve the recognition that we're giving them. I think a lot of us have experienced this within past relationships romantically, where we gave a person more value than they really were giving out, because we were looking at their potential or what they could grow into over a time, but they never reached that, or they never tried to even grow into more or reach their potential. Does that make sense?
And I think we don't take the time, like in a relationship, to stop and think about whether that person makes me feel good, makes me look good, like makes, says good things, like things that pertain to yourself. We're looking at that person, for their potential, but we don't take a step back and be like, well, how am I showing up in this moment for them and for myself? And am I being true? Am I serving my mind, body, and soul?
Right. Because the Ten of Wands ended up being clarified by the Ten of Swords. So ultimately, you carrying burdens of everything and everyone else ends up being a betrayal to yourself. You end up backstabbing yourself. And that's why in our last episode 3, we were talking about making sure that you're making conscious choices for yourself first, because you're going to be left with the consequences of however that choice pans out. And that's just something I've really taken into consideration in my life moving forward, because for me, again, the first time I did get married, I was under the influence of my family that, told me it should look like this and be like that. And the moment things started to get sour, they were just like, oh, I ain't got nothing to do with that. You're going to have to figure that out on your own and deal with, what comes with it. And I wanted to kick and scream because I wanted somebody to blame. I wanted to be like, but you guys, y'all pressured me. But at the end of the day, I couldn't hold that against them, because like I always say, unless somebody literally has a gun up to your head or is like forcing you to make a choice, you still are willingly making that choice. And when I came to that truth, I had to just own up to the fact of like, no one ever in life is going to peer pressure me to make choices or do things that I really don't want to do, because I've learned and experienced that at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, I'm going to be the one that has to go through it, experience it, and feel it. And everyone else, and heal it, right.
And patch it up.
Yes.
You have to be the one to take that knife out of your chest and heal that any way you know how.
Right. And if you don't, again, that ends up in like self-betrayal. And that's where a lot of people end up just dwindling away, because they feel like they've made so many mistakes or made so many wrong choices and they cannot come back from that. But that's when you really have to dig within yourself to see how to dust that off and move forward again. And the best way that you can move forward is by learning, acknowledging what you've been through, and taking that understanding and making sure that you're applying it to your choices moving forward so that you don't make those same mistakes again. It's not about sitting in it and feeling like, all is lost, because it's not. But it's also processing. That's what temperance is saying. You're going to have to go through the grieving stages of how you feel and what you think in order to get to the truth of it. I was not all positive mindset before I got to this place of healing. I definitely was bitter. I was jealous. I was hateful. Like, I never spewed that out to other people, but in my mind, I was definitely going through the motions before I was able to release those perspectives and those things that were holding me back, to actually accept things for what they were and find the true understanding so it could help me instead of hurt me. That is all about transmuting energy. You're going to have things and people and situations that hurt you like hell, and that is the point. From a spiritual perspective, the devil wants you to be hurt so you feel hopeless and helpless and in a dark place, like love isn't real, like having faith is not a thing, like God is not listening to you and hearing you, like you made one mistake and you're always going to be a mistake.
Right. That's
not true. Those are things that you can turn from a negative into a positive if you take the lesson and learn from it. So temperance is clarified by this Knight of Wands energy. So I kind of laugh because I have never liked the Knight of Wands, because he's your one night stander, or the person who comes in and leaves when they feel like it. We just talked about people who pick you up when they want to and drop you whenever they feel ready. We spoke about that in the YouTube collective for this week. And I was phrasing it in the sense of like what was going on with the whole Jada Pinkett and Will Smith situation, whereas it looks like people are picking and choosing when they want to stand behind something or let it reflect who they are. And then the moment that they change their mind and want to be about something else, they drop it like a bad habit. And so when we look into this Knight of Wands energy, regardless of who it is, it's seeing if people really stand on the things that they say and what they represent, and not pick and choose when they want to be of that, because that could be things morally as well. That's how we get conflicted in these relationships or in these situations with people, because it may be 90% of them doing right, saying the right things and acting right, but that other 10% is you witnessing how low they're willing to go, or the truths that they're willing to bend in order to continue maintaining their lie or their cover up or their mask in some way or another. And ultimately that becomes a reflection of you. Right? I think you and I was talking about that last night, of like how some people could look and think that we are coming off like, oh, we're better than you because we wouldn't make those choices and decisions. But it comes down to like what you stand on morally. Like, I'm not going to associate myself with a person who is a liar and is known to be a liar, because then that's going to make me look like I'm okay with being around liars, because I resonate with that energy. That is not...
You're not going to go in the store with somebody you know that steals.
Right. Yeah, I'm not. And even in a career sense, you're not going to see me hanging out with people who are over here selling their souls or being the opposite of what I'm representing, because that is not in alignment with me. That will actually end up causing more burdens, because you're going to be torn. You're going to be stuck in the middle of trying to be likable or accepted by people who don't value the same things that you do, and choosing yourself. And that's what always hinders people from standing in their truth and asserting those boundaries firmly. Right? When I was around an environment that didn't care about right from wrong, it was hard for me to have my voice and to stand confidently on that, because everyone around me was like, well, it doesn't matter. What matters is that we get what we want at the end of the day. So you always have to be in this place of truly being clear on what matters to you, what you value, and what you morally stand on. And know that despite a label or a connection or the history to a person, place, or thing, it's not worth you compromising those parts of yourself, because that's ultimately what makes you.
Right.
Yeah? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think going off of the Knight of Wands, when you're saying it was like somebody that comes in and does something and then leaves, it on the bright side of that, if you take it to yourself, it's also saying that the pain doesn't last for too long. Mm-hmm. Like, it's only temporary. They may have come in and hurt you, but you know, when you stub your toe, it hurts in that moment, but it don't last it doesn't linger on for a month, you know? So it's also telling you that it's only temporary, and it's not like the death of you.
Right. Nothing is ever the end unless you allow it to be.
Right.
And going back again to episode 2 of the Magician energy, this is you understanding your power, and the only time you don't have control is when you are trying to control other people and things. You always have control over yourself and your life. And it's about not giving your power to other people and things by allowing them to tell you who you are or how, you should be in life or the choices you should be making. Because once you make those choices based off of other people, you're going to feel like you're in helpless, hopeless situations that make you feel like you don't have any power, you don't have any control. And that's not the truth. That's an illusion to make you, not believe in yourself or believe in your guidance or your intuition anymore.
Right.
So you just gotta dust your shoulders off and keep it moving and kicking, and always believe that God will bring more into your life and bring you back. You can literally come back from anything.
Right.
I truly
it's not
believe
the end
in that.
until God says it's in to you in the grave.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that anybody can do, say, that can end you. And you can't get back up from it.
Right. So to sum it all up, what we desire is what we will stand 10 toes firmly on. And that is ultimately going to be the foundation that you start building your life on. So it should be something that is real, is authentic for you, because when hard times hit, you're going to have to fall back on that foundation. And hopefully it's something that is solid and not built off of, broken pieces, right? The foundation is looked at visually like a home. You got to lay your foundation before you start building on top of it. And if that foundation is not stable and solid, when the seasons change and the weather changes and the house or the ground shifts, you're going to start getting cracks within your home, unless you are properly tending to how things are being built.
Right. And
right?
You can't take the old foundation and think that you can put pieces of that into your new foundation.
Right, yeah.
Your new foundation is going to be built on something more solid. And you can't take pieces of rocks of that foundation and it's going to be filled. You don't have a void. Your void is filled.
Right, yeah. Yeah, because visually that's like God coming in and knocking down this old house. And instead of you sweeping away and cleaning all the debris, you just decide to start laying a new foundation on top of it. Like, that's not how that works, right? You wouldn't start cooking in a dirty pan. Hopefully you would wash it, right?
Right.
You wouldn't want to mix what is old and
what is new, because it just ain't going to taste fresh.
Yeah.
Cooking in old butter.
Right. So, yeah, this is the mindset that will keep you away from this 5 of Pentacles energy of feeling abandoned and neglected. When you really sit back and you think about these things and people that you really hold near and dear, it doesn't mean that you were wrong for doing that. It's just seeing that in this season of life, in this growth that you made within yourself, some people just have not made that same growth with you. And at some point, that journey does come to an end, right? I think when we first got into a relationship, we even spoke about that. Like, we are already people who know, like, cheating and disloyalty and things like that are already, like, that's it. Like,
Right.
we respect that of each other. So we were able to clearly see that if anything were to happen in our relationship, it would be because we started to grow in different directions, right? And I think a lot of people have that issue commonly in their relationships, but they let it turn into something else. Really, is one person probably ended up outgrowing the other, and that's where things started to split, because a lot of people like to stay stagnant. They're very comfortable with themselves and in their life and what they're doing. And if you're a person who is consistently about improving yourself or growing or knowing that you are deserving of more, you cannot stay stuck with people that you always have to pull forward with you, because I found that in the end they end up resenting you more for doing that.
Right.
The people that want to come, they're going to be with you. And the people that are trying and still, healing, they'll catch up eventually. But there's some people that you will see that just want to be where they are, and they're fine and content with that. And you have to make a choice between them and yourself at that point. And it's always best to choose yourself and invest in what God has put within you, because just like I said, my eye prescription and my glasses is not going to be what everyone else can see out of. It's for me. That prescription is made for me. And if everyone were able to look around and go get their eyes checked, they would realize that they had their own individual prescription as well, their own vision, their own way of seeing things. And if you were to truly live in that truth, your life would be beautiful. You would see things a lot more clearly than trying to put someone else's glasses on and see through them.
Right. And then and you're only making it harder for yourself. So start making things easier for you. Lay those burden down and begin to put things in your life that makes it easy.
Yeah. Yeah, because if I tried to put your glasses on, I would end up making my eyes worse, right?
Yeah.
My examples are crazy, but get it, right? So, yeah, y'all, that was the energy today. The Queen of Swords is just remaining and standing firm on your boundaries, not being afraid to speak up and stand up for yourself, because in this world, believe me, nobody else will if you don't, right? I'm definitely not going to fight for a person that shows me that they're not willing to fight for themselves. And that's just pretty much how that goes. So you have to keep that in mind within yourself. If you believe it, stand on it and don't compromise. And know that the people and things that are in alignment with that and with you will come as you move forward on your path and journey. So we love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will talk to you in our next episode.